Welcome back to Rare Elvis Photos, Elvis 2022 channel, also here on YouTube. I wanted to show a little series about Elvis Presley and Nick Adams. There's also going to be some photos of Gene Smith in here, as well as some other characters from Elvis Presley's life that you will be familiar with. So on September 23rd of 1956, Elvis actually flew down to Memphis together with Nick Adams and Gene Smith. On this trip on the plane, he used the name Clint Reno as his fake name there. So not that anybody would not have recognized him, obviously, but I guess in advance when you're booking a flight, you don't want everybody to know that you're going to be on a flight. So anyhow, so he had just, shot that movie Love Me Tender. So Elvis did visit Sun Studios, and in the evening, Elvis was seen at the Memphis Fairgrounds. As you can see right here, Elvis and Nick are sparring in front of the American Airlines symbol there. So, Nick Adams was struggling to make his big break, and he actually had met Elvis by happenstance on a movie set, and they actually hit it off. They both grew into their celebrity statuses together. Nick already had some high-profile friends like James Dean, Natalie Wood, and Dennis Hopper. Now, of course, everybody knows that Elvis Presley and Natalie Wood dated. No relation to Anita, who was his long-term girlfriend prior to Priscilla. But, Nick always wanted to be a huge actor, and so did Elvis. Elvis aspired to that. And Elvis was a big James Dean fan, and in turn, Elvis just basically visited Nick into his home and introduced him to his family, his friends, his co-workers like right here, like Sam Phillips and Marion Keisker here. Several years later, Nick's own fame would rise when he starred in and co-created the short-lived, iconic Western television series, The Rebel, that ran from 59 to 61 and featured Johnny Cash's famous song, Johnny Yuma. So, just out of curiosity, has anybody seen that series? If you have, please comment below. And if you haven't, check it out. It's actually a very good series. Just like a lot of undiscovered stars and actors and bit actors in the 50s and 60s, and even nowadays, anybody could be a great TV star or movie star that had skills and talent. And I think that's why Elvis Presley hit it off with Nick Adams, not just because of his friendship with James Dean, who Elvis idolized, and of course Natalie Wood, but because they were kind of kindred spirits together. And there is a book called The Rebel and the King, and that includes the original manuscript that Nick was writing. There were rumors back in the day that Colonel Tom Parker and Nick Adams were actually writing a book together. I don't really know whether that's true or not, just like trying to figure out all the rumors 40 to 50 years later that are out there. But, there was a lot of people that knew that Nick Adams and Elvis Presley were close friends. In fact, 40 years later, Peter Girl Nick wrote that Presley found it good running around with Nick, and there was always something happening. And the hotel suite was like a private clubhouse where you needed to know the secret password to get in, and he got to change the password every day. Elvis's girlfriend, June Wanico, also complained that the singer was always talking about his friend Adams and James Dean. She was also upset that Nick Adams had started inviting himself to see Elvis, and Wanico felt that she was trying to compete for Elvis's attention. Now, that's a common theme. Obviously, Elvis had friends, he had a career, and, you're not going to have a normal relationship with somebody like that, as much as you wish that you could. And I'm sure to a certain extent, everybody that was with Elvis had some normalcy, but it was usually locked up in the bedroom at Graceland, or when Elvis took his break down in the Gulf Coast of Mississippi and spent that time with June. But yeah, so June also said that he was a pushy little fellow. But as with Dean, James Dean, Adams capitalized on his association with Elvis, and he published an account of their friendship in May of 57. In August of 58, after the death of Gladys, Parker wrote in a letter, Nicky Adams came out to be with Elvis last week, which is so very kind of him to be there with his friend. So that's an interesting thing, that Colonel Parker seemed to like Nick Adams. Now, was that because, he felt that Nick would further Elvis's career in Hollywood and he would make more money? Perhaps. But anyways, I think that it would be an interesting read for any of those that have not read The Rebel and the King by Nick Adams, because it's a first-person account that's written by him. And it was written in 56 by Nick during Presley's 8 days in Memphis when the singer returned home for his big Tupelo homecoming, which these photos are from. And you know, the manuscript was actually discovered 45 years later by Nick Adams' daughter and initially published in 2012. So it's not that he wrote a book while Elvis was alive or right after he died. Nick was always trying to be an actor himself. This was something that continued long after Elvis and Nick had parted ways and were not hanging around each other. And I think it was interesting, you know. And Nick got married to former child actress Carol Nugent in '59. And I believe that the last time that Elvis and Nick Adams saw each other, actually, to be forthcoming, I don't really know. I think I read somewhere that Elvis hadn't really been in contact with Nick for maybe a year or maybe two, and that he was very upset when he heard the news that Nick Adams had passed away from an overdose. You know, and of course, everybody comes and goes in people's lives as friends, but it seemed like they had quite a time together when they were younger. And then, of course, the Memphis Mafia took over. And we all know how dominating Colonel Parker was on trying to keep people out of Elvis's inner circle. Now, I don't think, personally, that Nick Adams would probably have been a good influence for Elvis. And I don't really think he was really looking out after Elvis. Nick was just trying to be famous for himself. Now, that's just my opinion, and I'd like to hear your opinion below. But you would think that a long-lasting friendship would have really occurred, and Nick would have been part of the inner circle and stayed a part of the inner circle. But I think that was just basically the people that Elvis had trusted from his high school, and of course from his Army days. And there was a few other people that really should have been in Elvis's inner circle, you know, and might have been able to look out for Elvis a little bit better, and we'll talk about that in later videos. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about Nick Adams and Elvis Presley because it's an interesting friendship. I'm sure there's a lot more information that's out there about Elvis and Nick, and feel free to share in the comments if you know something that I didn't mention or that you'd like to share. This is a Elvis community, and you are all members. So TCB, TLC, like, subscribe, and share. Check out the next video there. And also, if you wouldn't mind going to the description and clicking on my son's YouTube channel. He's a gamer and he's only 8 years old. He would appreciate that and love it. All right, till next time.